Welcome to my channel. Today's scary story is titled Midnight Ritual Gone Horribly Wrong. The ritual was designed for my protection, but it seems to have attracted something sinister. The full moon hung heavy in the sky, casting an eerie glow through my bedroom window. My grandmother's antique silver locket pulsed warmly in my hand. Tonight was the night. For weeks I'd been planning this, studying ancient grimoires, gathering rare herbs, and performing minor rituals to ready myself for tonight. It was now or never, and what I was about to attempt was terrifying even to me. I had stumbled across an old manuscript hinting at a way to banish the nightmares that had plagued me since childhood. The catch, it required a full moon and a blood sacrifice. I knew it was risky, but desperation had driven me to seek out the source of my nightmares. I believed the ritual would send them back from whence they came, allowing me to finally find peace. Now, bathed in moonlight with the locket amplifying its power, I was ready. Setting up the ritual circle of candles and sigils had taken hours, but each step had to be perfect. Tonight, I wouldn't just banish my nightmares, I'd trap them forever. As I arranged the final sigil, a cold wind seemed to swirl through my room, extinguishing most of the candles. Fear clutched at me. Had I made a mistake? Was this foolish, dangerous ritual beyond my control? Then I remembered why I'd started this. Years of sleepless nights, of waking in cold sweats, of being haunted by grotesque figures in my dreams. They'd followed me even into my waking life. My reflection wavered. In the mirror, twisted faces leered back at me from the darkness between the trees outside my window. I closed my eyes, drew a deep breath, and began chanting the words of power from the grimoire. Each syllable resonated with otherworldly power, echoing the locket's steady hum. The air grew frigid, prickling with energy. As I reached the climax of the ritual, a single tear traced down my cheek. The price I had to pay? A sacrifice of blood. Taking the silver locket, I pressed it against my chest, willing my nightmare to come forward. There was a flash of movement in the corner of my eye, a fleeting glimpse of a gaunt, emaciated figure coalescing from the shadows. Then, as if summoned by my thoughts, my nightmare emerged fully formed from the swirling darkness, taking shape before me. It was as though a part of me had stepped out of my subconscious and into reality, but there was no time to hesitate. The ritual demanded action. With a voice surprisingly strong, I challenged my nightmare, demanding it leave me and all those dear to me forever. The creature recoiled as if burned, its form flickering like a candle flame in the draft. But then it began to advance, drawn by the blood sacrifice I'd offered. Panic surged through me, yet I forced myself to stand firm. Holding the locket aloft, I continued my incantation, determined to see it through. As the creature approached, its form solidified, becoming all too real, its eyes burning with malevolent hunger. Suddenly, the locket in my hand flared with blinding light, banishing my nightmare back into the shadows from which it came. But it wasn't over. The ritual had succeeded, but now something else stirred in the darkness. Whatever my nightmare had been, it had brought something with it, something drawn to the ritual's power. Emerging from the shadows, a figure cloaked in darkness stood before me, its eyes gleaming with unholy light. Whatever it was ancient, malignant, and utterly alien. It regarded me with chilling dispassion, as though assessing some specimen under a microscope. A low growl rumbled in its throat, sending shivers down my spine. Terror threatened to consume me, but I forced myself to remain calm. I had faced my nightmare and survived. Surely, whatever this new horror was, I could withstand that too. But as it took a menacing step forward, my courage began to falter. Its presence radiated malice and power, reducing me to a trembling wreck.
Ow, what had I unleashed?
The ritual had been designed to protect me, not harm me. Somehow I had attracted something far more sinister than the nightmares I had sought to banish. I wanted to flee to escape the suffocating dread that filled my room, but my feet were rooted to the spot. Then the creature spoke, its voice a discordant rasp that grated on my nerves like nails on a chalkboard. Spoke of things unfathomable, of realms beyond human ken, of powers that dwarfed my own ambitions. The words were a cacophony of madness, yet I felt compelled to listen. It was as though the creature's very essence wormed its way into my mind, bending my will to its own inscrutable purposes. And then it made a demand. The price of my protection, my servitude. I was to become its vessel, its pawn in designs I couldn't even begin to comprehend. The full weight of my folly crushed me. I had meant to banish my nightmares, not open a doorway for an interdimensional horror. But there was no time to dwell on my foolishness. The creature loomed closer, its malevolent gaze boring into me. In a last-ditch effort, I reached for the locket, hoping its power could repel the creature. But it merely swatted my hand away as though I were a bothersome insect. The locket clattered to the floor, its light extinguished. All hope seemed to drain from me, leaving only terror and resignation. The creature advanced, enveloping me in its shadowy embrace. I struggled, but my efforts were futile. It was as though a black hole had consumed me, dragging me into its fathomless depths. I cried out, the sound catching in my throat as the creature's icy fingers tightened their grip around me. My vision blurred, my body growing cold as the creature's essence began to seep into me. I tried to resist, to retain some shred of my humanity, but its influence was overwhelming. It was as though my very soul were on fire, being purged of everything that made me human. Then everything went black. I awoke with a gasp, my heart pounding against my ribs like a frantic bird. The remnants of the ritual lay scattered around me, extinguished candles and trampled sigils. But the room was silent, empty. Had it all been a dream? I searched for signs of the creature, finding nothing but my own reflection in the mirror. But something was different now. Gazing back at me from the glass was a stranger. My eyes glowed with an unearthly light, my skin bore an unhealthy pallor. I was alive, but somehow less than before. As the morning light crept through the curtains, I began to understand. The ritual had worked all too well. In banishing my nightmare, I had unwittingly opened a door to unspeakable things. And now whatever creature had followed my nightmare had somehow taken root within me. It lurked beneath my skin, twisting my thoughts, corrupting my being. The nightmares may be gone, but something far worse had taken their place. I had traded one prison for another, escaping the clutches of my subconscious, only to be ensnared by something far more sinister. My life was forfeit. The creature would eventually consume me entirely, but until then, I was its unwilling host. Forced to live out the remainder of my days under its sway, forever bound to a horror I could neither comprehend nor escape, my fate was sealed. The midnight ritual had failed, unleashing an ancient evil upon the world that I alone had brought forth. And as the creature stirred within me, eager to claim its prize, I knew my story was drawing to a terrifying close. Was this house haunted? Yes. And did the ritual summon something dark? Also yes. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please show your support. Till next time, remember, some doors are best left unopened.